There is really no rhyme or reason to my selections, I must tell you all. It's just instinct. I think last year I said, oh, I'm just going on instinct. And I swear it's not because I own it that I'm including it, it's because I do think that it has the potential to be recognized. What a fun but silly exercise. Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Welcome back to my channel. I'm here with a very fun video. I am going to attempt to predict the books that I think are going to be listed on this year's Booker Prize longlist. This is a very difficult challenge. I am not taking it too much to heart. I am just having some fun with this. It's a fun video to make. I am not expecting to get any of these right. I would say in some ways this is more of a wish list, or these are the books that I think are sounding very interesting of some of the books that are eligible, which I'm sure there are many, many more books that are eligible that I'm unaware of. But the books that have crossed my path leading up to today and that I have been curious about and I think might be interesting to recognize on the Booker long list are the ones that I'm going to talk about today. The other thing that I will say, or the other caveat, if you will, for this video is that I have not read any of these books. Not one of these books have I read. So in that way, I guess it kind of serves as a potential TBR for the Booker Prize. These are books that are released between October 1st, 2024 and September 30th, 2025. I have purposely left out books that have not been published yet. So I know, for example, that Ian McEwan and Patricia Lockwood both have books coming out that other people have been talking about. I am not including them on my list. Like I said, these are books that I have heard about, that interest me, that I think might be on the list. So, and some of these books I have really been meaning to get to, but I feel like that's kind of always the way, right? Hopefully I will get to some of these, even if they're not on the long list. So the first book that I selected is a book that I heard about on Scott's channel that sounds really good, that I would like to read. It's definitely my cup of tea. It's called Wee Pretty Pieces of Flesh by Colwell Brown. It's a coming of age story about three friends who are growing up in the early 2000s in Yorkshire, and I think the book is written in a Yorkshire dialogue, at least partially, if not all, which might be a little bit challenging, but could be interesting. And it's the story of these three girls, and I guess it's from going from being teenagers to the point where they're going to university, and they grow up and they grow apart, but apparently they have secrets that are threatening to destroy their relationships. The author is described as tracking their hard-edged lives and making them sing, turning one overlooked and forgotten place into the very center of the world. It sounds very, very good. I'd like to read it. It sounds great. Will it be on the Booker list? Who knows? There is really no rhyme or reason to my selections, I must tell you all. It's just instinct. I think last year I said, oh, I'm just going on instinct. Another selection that I've seen a lot of people talking about and that I've been wanting to read and which I've talked about in my channel before is The City Changes Its Face by Emir McBride. I think that I selected this in my predictions video for the Women's Prize, if I'm remembering myself correctly, which who knows? I didn't go back to check, but I think I did. I'm adding it again. I actually have a lot of crossover between my predictions video for the Women's Prize and my predictions video for the Booker. So this is from Emir McBride, as I said, who won the Women's Prize already. The novel takes place in 1996, and we're following 20-year-old Eiley and 40-year-old Stephen, who have this love affair, and they I think they're going back, looking back on it and trying to determine what went wrong. Described as being an intimate, experiential, and immersive. It's a story of what happens when it's love beyond question, but trouble comes along the way. Could be an interesting choice for the judges. My next choice is Our Evenings by Alan Hollinghurst. This book seems to have gotten a lot of praise, so I think it's a possible contender. In this story, we're following a queer Burmese actor through his whole life. It's a coming of age story and it's a coming out story. But it's also a story about this man, Gilles, who is his patron when he's a child, and he becomes a radicalized pro-Brexit politician, like a Boris Johnson type character later in his life. When we first meet David when he's only 14, born in 1948, and he is sponsored by this family, the Hadlow family, through a scholarship, and Giles Hadlow is his sponsor. The main character goes on to attend Oxford and then becomes an actor, and all throughout his life he has had to deal with racism, but also homophobia as a gay man. It sounds really interesting, and I've heard really good things about it, about how well written it is, and it's not experimental, it's fairly traditional, and I think I'd like to read it. It sounds really good. I'm wondering if it's going to make the list. My next choice is Juice by Tim Winton. I don't know this author, but just after doing a little bit of research, his 1995 novel, The Riders, was shortlisted for the Booker Prize, and also his 2002 book, Dirt Music. So I think there's a good chance maybe that this might show up on the list. It sounds really good. It's a dystopian book. It's about two fugitives, a man and a child. So these two fugitives are in a dystopian future. It's a dry, desert-like condition Earth that is too hot to really live in. So that's definitely kind of, you know, your typical apocalyptic situation. So the young girl and the man are on the run. They're escaping from something that we're not aware of. So they end up at this abandoned mine, but then they're captured by a man. The story unfolds with the main character explaining to his captor who he is and talking about his past in an effort to save their lives. So maybe. I don't know if I'm going to read that one. Maybe. It sounds good, but it also sounds disturbing. It sounds dark. The next book that I've seen a lot of people talking about, her other book, Intimacies, I had read. It was about a translator, and I think I have a review of it somewhere on my channel. I'll try to link that in the description box below. I remember being a little bit, I don't remember loving Intimacies, but I remember finding it very, very interesting. Her newest book, Audition, it's written in two parts, I think. There's a lot of mystery about how the two parts fit together. So it's one of those books that might be confusing until it all ties together. It sounds interesting to me, but it might be irritating for some people. The synopsis reads, two people meet for lunch in a Manhattan restaurant. She's an elegant and accomplished actress in rehearsals for an upcoming premiere. He's attractive, troubling, and young enough to be her son. Who is he to her, and who is she to him? In Audition, two competing narratives unspool, rewriting our understanding of the roles we play every day, partner, parent, creator, muse, and the truths every performance masks, especially from those who think they know us best. Well, I do think that Katie Kitamura is a pretty interesting author, and I'm very curious to read Audition. I think it's going to be different from other books, and that's always exciting, and that could be something that the Booker Prize judges are looking for. The next two books I'm going to talk about are both Canadian. They're both books that I've talked about on my channel before, and I'd be really pleased if one of these or both of these ends up on the long list. The first is one that I think we'll see on a lot of prediction lists. It's called The Book of Records by Madeline Ten, and this is a book that goes across centuries from the past into the future and different eras, and it's mostly about Lena and her father, who have arrived in this place called the Sea, which is a staging post between migrations, and they only have a few of their possessions with them. And this is like a very mysterious, shifting place. It's a building full of different people from different places, and Lena befriends their neighbors, a Jewish scholar, another German philosopher who is fleeing Nazi persecution, a poet from the Tang dynasty in China. And I think that it's meant to be the story about this father and daughter, but they're displaced, and I guess we will find out how they arrived at this place called the Sea, perhaps how these other characters arrived at this place. But I think that a big part of this book is philosophical, and it might be a little bit kind of esoteric. It might be a little bit hard for some people to grasp or to understand. It might be difficult for me to grasp and understand, but I would really like to read it. I've never read anything of hers before, and I think it's the kind of thing that the Booker Prize judges would go for. The other Canadian book that I'm hoping might be recognized is Endling by Maria Reva. Maria Reva is born in the Ukraine but living in Canada, and I talked about this book way back in February when I talked about Canadian books that are being published this year to keep an eye out for, and this is one that I've been really wanting to read. In fact, I'm pretty sure that Scott is hosting this book for July for his book club. We're already midway through July, so unfortunately I'm probably not going to make it, but I definitely want to read this book this year, whether it's longlisted or not. About a woman named Yeva, who is a biologist, and she's working out of her mobile lab. It's set in 2022, so set in pretty much present day. And she is trying to breed these rare snails, and her family is urging her to give up, get married, settle down, have a family. Yeva is not interested whatsoever. She sounds like a really interesting character, but she funds her work as a scientist by entertaining Westerners who come to the Ukraine on these guided romance tours. So it sounds like it's a very feminist book. It's a very modern book, and it's looking at this booming marriage industry out of Eastern Europe. It sounds just like my kind of novel, something that I would really enjoy. So I definitely want to read Endling, and it would be so amazing if Endling was selected. Wouldn't that be so cool? I have a feeling it might not be. So this is why I say this is like a wish list rather than a predictions list, even though I'm presenting it as a predictions list. The next book that I think will be recognized is Nesting by Roshan O'Donnell. Everyone has spoken about Nesting, and I predicted it for the Women's Prize. It was, of course, on the Women's Prize long list. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I do own a copy. I did purchase a copy, so there's no reason why I can't get to it. And I swear it's not because I own it that I'm including it. It's because I do think that it has the potential to be recognized. It's an Irish story about a woman who leaves her husband because she's in an abusive marriage, and she leaves with her two young children, I believe her two young children, and it's her story, and it's supposed to be incredible. It's supposed to be very, very good. I'm also going to add Universality by Natasha Brown to my list. I own a copy of Universality and I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I don't know if the Booker will recognize it, and I know that Natasha Brown was selected just recently she has just been selected as I don't know if she's the chair or she's just a judge on the International Booker Prize judging panel, but I guess that shouldn't have anything to do with it, but I don't know if that would hinder her chances of being listed. I don't think it should. If I was picking, I would certainly add Natasha Brown to the list. Granted, I haven't read this book, but I did read Assembly and I thought it was really, really, really good. It's set up as a thriller mystery. It's about a man who's bludgeoned to death with a gold bar late at night during an illegal rave on a Yorkshire farm. And it's about a young journalist who sets out to uncover the truth surrounding this attack. It's another one of these novels that I think is quite intellectual, that I've heard some criticism of for it being kind of intellectual and over people's heads. I think the first part is a little bit more readable than the second part from what I've read, but I still think that there's a good possibility it could be selected. And I own it and I'm going to read it. So it's on my list regardless. I try to do a bit of mix of male and female authors and people from different backgrounds. It's a little bit tricky. I definitely lean on the side of female authors, but this book sounds really good. It's by the Nobel Prize winning author Abdulrazak Gurnah, and it's called Theft. So Gurnah was awarded the 2021 Nobel Prize in Literature, and he was recognized for his uncompromising and compassionate penetration of the effects of colonialism and the fate of the refugee in the gulf between cultures and continents. And he was the first Black author to win the Nobel Prize since Toni Morrison in 1993. So I do think that his most recent novel, Theft, has a chance of being listed. The synopsis reads, at the turn of the 21st century, 3 young people come of age in Tanzania. Karim returns to his sleepy hometown after university with new swagger and ambition. Fazia glimpses in him a chance at escape from a smothering upbringing. The 2 of them offer a haven to Badar, a poor boy still unsure if the future holds anything for him at all. As tourism, technology, and unexpected opportunities and perils reach their quiet corner of the world, each arrives at a different understanding of what it means to take your fate into your own hands. It sounds really good. I'm really curious to see how many, if any, I have correct. What a fun but silly exercise this is. It's so silly, it's fun. After this, I really started to get into territory that I just wasn't super familiar with these books, so I kind of had to go off the descriptions. So this book was a finalist for the Orwell Prize for Political Fiction, and I think it sounds really intriguing. It's called The Accidental Immigrants by Joe McMillan. This is about Tess and Arlo, who have settled into a happy life in St. Mira, but on this island, a far-right government has surged to power, and foreigners or immigrants are their first target. They've got to decide whether they should be leaving or not, and is it too late for them to leave? So it's probably based on, well, it seems like it's based on the kind of xenophobic atmosphere from even before Brexit and since Brexit. It sounds really intense, but probably it's very, very good. I think that there's a chance because of its topic that it might be selected by the Booker Prize judges. Next up is Call Me Ishmael by Shall You Go? That's hard to say. This is a retelling of Moby Dick. Sounds like the kind of thing that the Booker Prize would go for. I think it sounds really, really interesting, but I've never read Moby Dick, so I'm not sure if I would read this one, even though I think it sounds really interesting. I wouldn't have the reference point, but I think it'd be really cool to read it. I mean, it's a reimagining of it's described as being a reimagining of the epic battle between man and nature in Moby Dick from a female perspective. And I just think that that sounds very, very interesting. And it seems like something that the Booker judges might be interested in including. Now, would I go and read Moby Dick, which I've never read? I doubt it. But I might enjoy this book regardless. I don't know if I have to have read Moby Dick to be able to enjoy this book. I read another book a long time ago called Ahab's Wife, which was from the perspective of the wife. So then that was fantastic. So I think this could be a good option for the Booker Prizes. And then my last choice is admittedly a bit more obscure. I know that Roddy Doyle is the chair of the judges, and I'm sure that there's going to be some Irish representation. And this book is just one that caught my eye that's on the list of eligible books on Goodreads. I was struggling for a 13th option, and so this is the one that I've chosen. It's Ordinary Saints. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce this author's name, so I think it's Nev. I think it's Nev, and I don't want to pronounce the last name because I don't want to butcher it, but it sounds really, really good. It's a queer Irish contemporary novel. It's about Jay, who was brought up in a devout household in Ireland, and Jay is now living with her girlfriend in London. So it's about her experience, but her older brother also dies in an accident, and he may be made into a Catholic saint. So she realizes that she has to confront this traditional upbringing and her family and her past. It just sounds really good. It's a debut novel. It sounds really exciting, and I think it'd be interesting. It's not new territory, but it does sound like it could be something that, as an outside choice, might be recognized by the judges. This is always a tricky endeavor. That's my list. I had a lot of fun putting it together. Let me know in the comments section below what you think is going to be on the long list this year, if you're going to be following the Booker this year. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye for now. So that's my list. So that is my list. So silly but fun. So after that, there's, and I own it, and also I own it, and I want to read it, so I'm putting it on my readings list. It's described as tracking the hard-edged lives, and makes. It's described as so I'm really excited. Yes.